Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I wanted to teach you one of my favorite stitches. This is called the Celtic Weave. This is part of a design that I will be releasing very soon to my channel, so be sure to check that out. But I wanted to show you that there is more than one way of working the Celtic Weave, and I'm going to show you both of those right now. Okay, I'm going to show you how to crochet the Celtic Weave, and for this demonstration I'm just going to be using some worsted weight yarn, or Aran weight is another word for it, or if you're in the US, a number 4 weight yarn. And I'm also using a size J or 10 or 6.00 millimeter crochet hook. I've gone ahead and chained 24, so you can chain any multiple of 4 to begin. I'm going to start in the 3rd chain from the hook, and I'm going to just simply crochet double crochets all the way across, one in each chain. After finishing those double crochets, we have a total of 22 double crochets. I am not counting the chain 2 at the beginning of that first row. We're going to chain 2, and I've already turned, and we're going to work a double crochet in that first stitch, just working through the top loops. This is technically not going to be part of the Celtic Weave, but it kind of makes a nice end stitch for us. We're going to wrap our hook 2 times to prepare for a front post treble crochet. For those of you who have never worked a post stitch, instead of working through the top loops of the stitch, instead we're going to wrap the hook around the stitch, kind of like giving it a belt. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do that in the next stitch as well, wrapping the hook around the stitch like a belt. Pull up a loop, 4 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, now working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to do that same stitch, the front post treble crochet, in this stitch and in this stitch. So effectively it would be the 2nd and the 3rd stitch of the row. And we come across, and then the next stitch. And that is what we are going to do all the way across the row. We wrap our hook 2 times for that front post treble, skip 2 stitches, front post treble, and the next 2 stitches, working in front of these last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. Okay, so I'm going to continue this. I'll do this one more time for you. Skip 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2. Well, I'll just work the whole row with you. Working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in the next, or actually the 2 stitches that we skipped. Now, if I'm going too quickly for you, I do have a solution. There's a little gear on this side. This is if you're watching on the YouTube channel. And if you click on that, it will bring up a playback speed, and you can slow down the speed or speed it up. If you're watching from a phone, it'll be in the 3 vertical dots in the upper right-hand corner. It'll be on this side for the left-handed, and for lefties, it'll be on this side for the gear if you're watching from a laptop. Okay, so we're skipping 2. Front post treble. And so by clicking on that particular icon, you can bring up a playback speed, and you can, play back the speed much slower so that you can really see things carefully. All right, so now we work in front of these 2 stitches. We front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. Let's pause a minute. And so the row should look like this. Okay, we only have one more to do, and I'll show you what that looks like. We're just skipping 2. Front post treble in the next 2. and working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Now if you're working any of my published patterns with this stitch, do be careful that you follow the directions clearly according to the pattern. This stitch demonstration is just that. It's a demonstration. It's not a pattern in particular. So you want to follow the pattern as primary and the demonstration here as secondary, more of as an instructional purpose. Okay, so the last stitch, we're just going to work a double crochet in that last stitch. And for this this swatch purpose, I'm not going to work in the turning chain. Okay, so we're going to turn, we're going to chain 2, we're going to work a double crochet in that first stitch. Now we're going to begin row 2 of the Celtic Weave. Is actually row 3 of the swatch, but traditionally if you're working the Celtic Weave, this will be the second row of it, and it would have the back side facing. And it starts off a little bit differently than the first row when you have the front side facing. Okay, you're going to work 2 back post treble crochets right off the bat. And to work a back post treble, it's very similar to the front post, except you're going to bring the hook in the back door, and we're completing it on the back side, back here instead of on the front side. Okay, so now after we do those first 2 stitches, now we start skipping the next 2, and the next 2 stitches after that we're going to work back post treble crochets. Now working in front of these, as seen from the front side, we're going to reach around all the way. We're going to back post treble in these stitches, and this is probably the trickiest part of this stitch. We're going to come in through all the way in the back around that first stitch, and we work that back post treble crochet. Now as we work the stitches on this side, you're really going to be depending on the tall man and the thumbkin and the nerve receptors in your fingers to tell you where that stitch is. I can feel it. I know it's right here, but I just want to make sure that you see which stitch it is, and everything is done on the back side. Okay, I'm going to flip this around so that you can see what I mean by as seen from the front side. So this is worked in the front as seen from the front side, but when you're working the stitch, it's way in the back. Okay, I just wanted to be clear about that. So we're going to do that again. Skip the next 2 stitches, back post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. Now working in front of this stitch as seen from the front side, so come all the way in the back, and we're going to work that back post treble crochet around that stitch and around this stitch. Okay, now we're going to do that again. Skip the next 2, and you can also notice that the 2 that we're skipping are leaning in this direction, and the 2 that we're picking up first is actually leaning in this direction. Okay, and it does feel like a long reach. It feels like you're going across the street here to get this stitch, but you're really not. And it is, in fact, quite a long stitch with these treble crochets. Okay, so working in front of these as seen from the front side, come around the back, and we're going to get this stitch. Complete that back post treble, and then the next stitch. Now this is a much easier version of the stitch. I'm going to show you a tighter weave in just a bit, but we're going to go ahead and complete this. So we're going to skip these 2 stitches and back post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches, working in front of these as seen from the front side, come around all the way to the back, get that next stitch, and then 1 more, Now this is where, again, the second row of the Celtic weave is different. Okay, so now we don't skip any more stitches. We've used all the stitches except these two. And so now we're just going to work those next without skipping stitches. You're going to end with 2 back post treble crochets. And then I'm going to work a double crochet in that end or border stitch. So let's turn and see what we have. See how nice that looks? And let me show you. We've started with these 2 stitches, the back post treble. Remember, we didn't skip any, but then we went to these 2 and then these 2. And then we get to the end and we didn't skip any after this last crossing of the cables or of the stitches here. And then we just work those next 2 back post trebles. So let's go ahead and work the next row, which is really a repeat of the first row of the Celtic Weave Stitch. So let's start with that double crochet. Again, if you follow any of my patterns, the way the beginning of the row may differ slightly, but follow the pattern. But this is just, again, for our swatch example. So we're going to skip the first 2 stitches of the Celtic weave, and it's easier to see now. Front post treble in those next 2 stitches. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches we just skipped. Okay, and we're going to do that all the way across. Skip these 2 stitches. Now notice that you can't really see the stitches, but you can see the tops of them. Skip these 2, and the 2 stitches leaning in this direction are the ones that we're going to work first. So front post treble in those 2 stitches. Working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in these 2, and they're a little bit hiding now because we have, some other stitches work there. So this is, since it's the 3rd row, so you may have to do a little hide and seek for those. So now we skip these 2 stitches. Again, they are a little bit hidden behind these 2 stitches because these stitches are literally woven. And then we're going to front post treble in these 2 stitches. And back behind, we're going to go ahead and grab these 2 stitches here. I'm working in front of what we just did there. Okay, so let's take a pause and look at what we're doing here. Okay, and as you can see, this is a very, very open weave. Okay, skip these 2 stitches, and I'll finish out the row with you. Front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Whoops, let's grab that stitch again. Don't want it to get away this time. Working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in these 2. Again, use those nerve endings in the tall man and in the thumbkin there to grab those stitches. And then we just do it one more time. Skip 2 stitches, front post treble in these last 2 of the Celtic weave. And notice that we don't have to do the last 2 stitches like we did on the second row of the Celtic weave with the back side facing. Okay, so working in front of these, front post treble in these 2 stitches that are hidden. Okay, and then we're just going to work a double crochet worked in the top of that last stitch. Let's take another look. And I'm going to start you off on one more row, but I'm not going to complete it because it's completed the same. Chain 2, start with a double crochet. And just for a review, and just to remind you that this row with the back side facing you starts off with 2 back post trebles right away without skipping any stitches. That's very important because if you try to skip stitches with the back side facing right away, it's going to be a mess. Okay, so we don't skip anything. We just do those first 2 stitches. And let me also explain why. In part of the weave, these stitches are going to go back around. They kind of like curve around on the end, like here. They curve around and they go back into the work. So that it's almost like a Celtic knot weave on the end. Okay, skip 2 stitches, back post treble in the next 2 stitches. Remember, they're going to be leaning this direction towards you. And then working in front of these stitches, as seen from the front side, we're going to back post treble around this stitch and then this stitch. So we come around, and let's do that again. Okay, and of course we would work that all the way across the row. I also want to show you how to work a tighter weave of the same stitch. I'm going to be using the same yarn, and I'm going to be using the same number of 24 chains, and then crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook, and then I will have 22 double crochets across. And this is a much tighter weave of this particular pattern. It's a little bit trickier, but some of my patterns do call for this. So I just wanted to show you that it can be done using double crochets as well. So I've chained 2, and I'm going to work a half double crochet into that first stitch. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches. The stitch is mechanically worked the same way. It's just using double crochets instead, front post double crochet. So we skip 2, front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, working in front of the last 2 stitches. We're going to front post double crochet, which again is a smaller, tighter stitch. And we're going to do that all the way across. Skip 2, just like we did with the trebles, but using front post double crochets. Front post double crochet in each stitch. Working in those first 2 stitches. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post double crochet in the 2 stitches that we skipped. Just like we did before. So go ahead and work that across that row. At the end of the row, I'm going to work a half double crochet into the last stitch. And the reason I work half double crochets instead of double crochets is because the height of a half double crochet worked in through the top loops is about the same height as a front post double crochet in this particular stitch pattern. Okay, we're going to turn to work with the back side facing, chain 2. Go ahead and work that half double in that first stitch. Now remember, when we start off with the back side facing, we're going to start by not skipping, by just going right into back post stitches. So we're going to work 2 back post double crochets in those first 2 stitches. And just like we did in these demonstration with the trebles, we skip 2 stitches and we back post double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And this is where it gets a little bit trickier. Since the weave is a little bit tighter, you might have a harder time finding these stitches, but we do them the same way. We back post double crochet, working in front of those other stitches as seen from the front side of the work. Okay, and so I'm going to work this all the way across. Skip the next 2, back post double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those as seen from the front side, we're going to come around and work those other 2 stitches that we just skipped. And we're going to do this all the way across. Skip 2, back post double crochet in the 2 stitches there, and then working in front of those stitches as seen from the front side. I'm going to come around and back post double crochet. Again, I'm using my fingers to help guide my hook. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this across the row. Once we get to the last 2 stitches, we don't skip any stitches, but work 2 back post double crochets, and then work a half double in that last stitch. Let's turn, and you can see right away how much tighter this is. So I'm going to go ahead and work 2 more rows for you. 1, 2, and I'll start you off. We're going to work a half double just in that end stitch there, and then beginning the Celtic weave again, skip 2 stitches, front post double in those next 2, and just like before, working in front of those 2 stitches, front post double crochet in those 2 stitches that we skipped. So I'm going to go ahead and work the next 2 rows, and just to show you a little more of the swatch of what it looks like worked with these front post double crochets. After adding a couple rows to this swatch, this is what it looks like, and you can tell that it is much more of a tighter weave. Now for both of these stitches, whether you work this using front and back post trebles or doubles, let me show you how you would discontinue this stitch. It can be discontinued either with the front side facing or the back side facing, and I'm going to work it with the front side facing this particular time, but let me just show you what you would need to do to get back to more straight up and down double crochets so that you can work other stitches. Okay, you can go ahead and work that end stitch, and we're going to just work front post double crochets straight across the row. Now again, if you are working with the back side facing, you would simply work back post double crochets, which will discontinue this stitch just as well. In fact, most of my patterns usually have you discontinuing this with the backside facing, but it can be done either way. I just wanted to demonstrate that to you. Okay, so let me go ahead and see how I'm just going in one stitch after the other. I am not crossing anything. Okay, you may have to fish, let me show you, fish out these stitches that are hidden, like there are 2 stitches hidden. Make sure that you get 2 stitches behind there. For every grouping of the crossing, the crosses here, there are 4 stitches, so you make sure that you get all 4 of those stitches as you're discontinuing that. It'd be easy to drop a stitch if you forgot the stitches that are back behind here, especially working these post stitches. And usually when you work this row of back post or front post double crochets, it'll take some of the curl out of this stitch. Okay, so it's already helping that quite a bit. And we're finishing up the row. And there you have it. So we've discontinued this Celtic weave. So from this point on, you could easily continue with another style of stitch should you like. Okay, well that ends the Celtic weave. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up if you're on the YouTube channel, and also please subscribe if you can. That would really bless me. If you're looking for commercial-free, ad-free, spam-free crochet instruction and many more designs than are even on this channel, check out watch.bonniebaycrochet.com. It's my subscriber, paid subscriber-based channel, and I have a lot of extra goodies there that I think you'll really enjoy. God bless. Bye-bye.